Welcome back to the Rebel's Edge. I'm John Najarian, Pete Najarian joining shortly. And we have a resignation, and it probably doesn't come as a shock to anybody who was paying attention. But to those who weren't paying attention, this is perhaps the worst prime minister in the history of Great Britain that has just resigned. And adios is what we've got to say about that on the Rebel's Edge. See ya. Yeah, welcome back. And Pete, I'm telling you, that guy is the woat. We all know what the GOAT is. That's the greatest of all time. He's the worst of all time, the woat. Just a horrible job, Keir Starmer over there for Great Britain, basically putting people in jail for Facebook posts, Pete. And I'm not talking about threatening posts like we see here, people threatening to kill people or whatever, saying, hey, too bad that assassin missed Trump or this or that. No, not for that. For things like, there are only two sexes and they want to put people in jail for saying that. It's incredible, but they won't miss him. But there's probably a lot of places where he won't be able to go anymore in Great Britain, I'm thinking.
I think you're probably right on that one. And the president had some kind words to say about him too. But we're not going to go there. Not going to go there.
Yeah, the president wished him well, Pete. That's what he did. He wished him well. And that's about as good as you can get out of him about that guy. Well, what do you got as far as VIX today, Pete? Because the markets are, just kind of meandering. They're not going down, not going up. They're just kind of meandering.
Yeah, kind of moving around a little bit in a certain range or whatever. But yeah, John, I think when you look at the VIX, I mean, that speaks for itself. I mean, we've dropped. We've been coming down, pretty rapidly, I would say. And, along with the price of crude that was coming down pretty rapidly as well. And so here we are. A little bit of a lift to the upside, 1750-ish or whatever in terms of the VIX itself, off of that 1650, let's just call it that. Makes a lot of sense, John. It makes a lot of sense for where we are in the markets, and it could get, to the position where, yes, it could drop all the way back down there towards those 16s. But there's still plenty going on. There's still a lot going on globally, and so I think for those reasons, it makes a lot of sense that we got down towards 16, but now we're, kind of hovering a little bit closer to, let's call it, the middle of 17.
Well, as far as prediction exchanges go, Pete, I'm going to say that Kalshi had this one that you guys are going to see on your screen now. That's basically World Cup soccer winner. And there's no real surprise that three of those teams are battling it out right now, Pete. Mm-hmm. There are others who could break into that, of course, including the United States, which is a bit of a dark horse, but they did beat Australia. So the United States, a lot of folks are hoping that the U.S. plays Great Britain on the 4th of July, Pete, for a repeat of 250 years ago. But as you can see there, France, they're favored, but Argentina and Spain are right there. And with Messi scoring 3 goals in that one game, that's pretty impressive. Hadn't seen something like that in World Cup in an awful long time.
Yeah, people get really, really excited. I mean, the one thing that that stands out for me as much as anything about this, John, is just the viewership, the excitement that people have for it. Is it my favorite thing in the world? No, but I'm not against it either. I think it's great that people want to follow this and get so excited, and everybody kind of has that certain feel for their country or whatever. That's all real cool. So am I surprised that it's France and Spain and Argentina? Not in the least. And the U.S. can be very good. It doesn't mean that they're, terrible or anything, but, it's going to take a little bit of luck along the way as well for them to maybe, get themselves into a better position than they are right now. But that being said, it's lived up to everything that everybody always, wants to see. The World Cup has huge viewership going, and it's been pretty impressive.
Yep. And a lot of that viewership just like the NFL is in bars and so forth, where you can't really count all the people, all the eyeballs that are there, because, you know, they might have 6 TVs in the bar on it, but there might have 400 people in the bar too. Anyway, let's take a look at Micron, Pete, because MU is up 4% today. It's making a nice upside surge. If you're not buying this thing on dips, folks, I really can't help you, I guess, because they just have a demand side of the equation. And you guys know, Pete and I always say it's supply and demand. And the demand side is so high for what they're doing, Pete. And now they get a couple upgrades from some analysts. So that didn't hurt today either.
No, the sentiments out there is pretty positive from the analysts. John Needham is one of them. How about their price target? $15.50. I mean, right now, as we speak, it's trading around $11.80. So it gives you a little bit of an idea of the excitement that's there. I'm showing it, about 4%, like you just said, John. It's been as much as 5% to the upside. Memory chips, the shortage, all of that. Analysts are all talking about different things. Some of them are talking about the revenue that's going to be coming out, $34.8 billion. That's the expecting. So that, and then maybe some earnings that are very close to 20, call it 1970, 1972, something like that. There's a lot of excitement still around Micron, and it's made this unbelievable move, and yet it continues to kind of get a little bit higher and a little bit higher. It pulls back, but then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, it's starting to move to the upside again. So that whole world, John, is turned sort of upside down, and people are definitely getting pretty excited more and more. It seems like they haven't faded, is what I should say, because they're still there. And if Needham is even close with the buy rating and the $15.50 price target, there's plenty of room still to the upside.
Oh yeah, and I believe there is, Pete. But just like you and I said about SpaceX, these things don't go straight up forever, folks.
Right.
And in fact, our next stock, SpaceX, SPCX, is giving a lot back today. They were down 4% early on. Then they were 10. They're basically down 9 to 10% right now, Pete, trading back down into the 167-ish range. And, you know, some people last week put on some big negative trades in SpaceX. Some people speculated to the upside still, very true. But a lot of people were indeed putting on puts and selling calls to pay for those puts. That's a very negative trade, and they've been right on. But keep in mind, it's still Pete, $31 above where it priced on the IPO at $135. First trade wasn't there, but that's where it priced, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it made that huge run all the way up to 2.25. And then it just started kind of fading a little bit. And you know what, for people who are maybe new, that's not something that's unusual necessarily, because it was up into the stratosphere, no pun intended. But, you know, it really was flying, and it made some sense. And like you said, John, all of a sudden we started to see a little bit more on the put side. The very first day of the options that were trading there was on Tuesday, and things, we started seeing a lot more. The first day, some great stuff going on, right, as far as the calls. By the time we get to the next couple of days, we only had 2 more, Wednesday, Thursday. We had Friday off. Started to see a little bit more activity, John, on the put side. People speculating maybe that it could pull back a little bit, or they might have even been buying some protection for a position that they might have on. In any case, the puts were starting to show up a little bit more and a little bit more. And here we are, down about 9%, something like that, John, maybe even a little bit more. But they were talking about a $20 billion bond offering as well. I mean, that's a pretty sizable thing for some refinancing of debt. So there's some storylines there that actually you could understand why maybe there's a little bit of pressure on it today.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure most of you are aware that fewer than 5% of shares are currently in the free float, as they call it, in air quotes, free float, which means that a lot of the insiders can't sell yet. They will get unlocked in August. If it's above 177, even more will get unlocked, as they say. By locked, I mean, folks, literally they cannot sell. If they try to sell a restricted stock, I don't know if they go to jail, but they'd certainly get a large penalty for trying to do that. So we will keep you informed as those lockups start to expire, because those will be things everybody will be talking about. All right, Pete, let's talk about Credo Technology. So it's one of those IT companies, folks, information technology. And Stifel really likes what these guys do. So does Evercore ISI. And both of them upgraded it today. And that's resulted in a pretty nice move to the upside, Pete. Right now, I've got them moving to the upside. It's basically high-speed solutions to break bandwidth barriers down. So in other words, to help people move faster across the internet. And you might imagine that a lot of the people that really desire that are people that are running big data centers with a lot of data. So that's what the positive story is for them. Demand, again, being very strong for what they do. And again, if supply remains the same and they didn't just come up with some new way to do internet, that means that the demand is going to be pushing prices up.
Yeah, and Stifel, I think, is dead on this, John, along with Evercore. They were talking about, like you said, the buy ratings and the price target. Price target from Stifel's 350. That's a pretty nice jump even from here after the jump that it's already made. And Evercore, pretty much very close at 325 for their price target. So in an outperform. Stock was up 6%. I just took a blink over here, John. It's up right now about 10%. It's been up as much as 12%. Hit new 52-week highs today of just under 309. So people are pretty excited about this. And it makes sense, like you just said, whether it's, for whatever reason, people want speed. They want to be able to get to where they want to get, the information they're going to get. We talk about data centers and all this other stuff. Credo is definitely something that I think they're sitting in the right place at the right time. And there's going to be a lot of money spent, John, to make sure that people are going to be able to get things moving a little bit faster, maybe.
Well, and then to wind it up, Pete, we'll hit Roblox, which, of course, is a platform basically where everyday people can basically create and play games. And to some people, that might just seem like, is that really a business? But to others, when you realize how many people they have on that platform, Pete, it didn't hit a new 52-week low today, but it is down about 9%. And one of the reasons for that, on heavy volume, I mean, turnover is almost 9 million shares early on. One of the reasons that they're down like this is an announcement of a multi-class action lawsuit against them, alleging, and again, alleging in air quotes, securities fraud. So, companies face this kind of stuff all the time, folks. That doesn't mean that I'm dismissing it. It just means that, somebody loses money and they say, oh, they should have known earlier. They should have disclosed this or that much earlier so that people could have got out of the way, because this one's down, Pete, from 150 to basically $50 to $49. That's a pretty ugly drop, and people aren't happy about it, and understandably so. But again, it doesn't mean that they've actually committed securities fraud, but you will have a bunch of people that line up to go after them.
Yep. The lawsuits are going to be there, John. They already are starting, like you were just talking about. That's not good. Like you said, I mean, the 52-week high is 150, and here we are. They've been as low as, 40. So here we are at 46, $48 a share, whatever it might be, down about 9%, getting hit pretty hard. It seems like for the right reasons, but to your point, John, it doesn't mean it's a 100% slam dunk. It's just that people are lined up to be able to be in these class action suits. So we'll see how it all plays out. But obviously, whenever you hear that, regardless, it's going to get the stock moving to the downside. And that's exactly what we're seeing. And it doesn't seem like a whole lot of people are in front of this thing wanting to own it right now, John. So you know what? And that's probably not so bad. Sometimes it's okay to put your hands in your pockets and say, well, I'd like to wait a little while. I would like to wait until we start to see any kind of a turn to the upside. And, we haven't seen a whole lot of that when you consider the fact that the stock was 150 and here we are at 46. So Well, I think this is one of those where you got to be patient. You might not even want to be involved, but if you are, you might want to be a little bit patient as time goes by. You don't need to buy the bottom. You do not need to buy the bottom. You'd rather see a little bit of something start working in their favor to the upside, because we already know that 150 was the high. So could it get up to 100 again? Maybe. But you never know.
Yep. Well, well said, Pete. Now we take it to Pete's Rebel Sports, also known as Najarian Sports. But Pete, what do you got for your Najarian Sports today?
Well, we got two kind of fun ones, John, because you know what? Obviously, there's a lot going on sports-wise, and yet, is it all really super duper exciting right this moment? Maybe, maybe not. I thought we could go into college football already. Let's jump there a little bit early. I was just talking to people over at the University of Minnesota. They were telling me about what's going on and some of the, the different things that are, in process right now. And I started thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? I wonder who, and I thought you and I could kind of rank them, John. So right now, the way things stand, who would be the top 5 teams that we would say, you know what, this is an absolute lock that these guys are going to be in the college football playoff? So I'll start with this one, Ohio State. I think you're going to agree with me on this one, John. The 3 biggest offensive people on that team are back again. You got the quarterback, the running back, Bo Jackson, by the way, by name, and Jeremiah Smith, the wide receiver. That alone tells me that these guys are absolutely loaded for bear. Yeah, they've been there, John. They know how to get there. This is Ohio State, of course. They recruit the heck out of people. They've got all the money in the world to pay people. So I think Ohio State, I put them at number 1. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but that's who I would put at number 1 right now. Do you want to go back and forth?
I would have them at number 1, Pete. You know who I'll throw in there that you may or may not have on? Whoops, did it?
It froze just for a second.
Okay. The person that I'll put in there, or the team that I'll put in there, Pete, are the Oregon Ducks.
Yes.
Because when I see a program that is as strong as Dan Lanning has built there, Pete, with, his backups could be starting at most top D1 programs, the backups at Oregon, in my opinion, because he just reloads. So that would be one. I would have said the Red Raiders, Pete, but as we both know, Scoresby is going to be going in the supplemental draft instead. So we'll have to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. That was my number 2 is Oregon, John. I think Dante Moore, the quarterback, is fantastic. I think he's going to have a great year. And by the way, he's got a backup quarterback who's decided to stay there, who transferred there, who's also really good. So they've got quarterback QB1 and QB2. I think they're in good shape. How about Georgia being number 3? They return just about everybody. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, how many they can stack up, John. They also have a pretty good quarterback in Gunnar Stockton. Love the name, number 1. But they were one of the youngest teams in college football last year. So these guys are young, and they're that good already. I would assume that they're going to be even better this year. So I put them at number 3.
Okay, what about Bama? I mean, and LSU and Ole Miss. What about those 3? Where do you stack each of those up? Because all 3 of them are going to be super competitive. Yeah. And LSU is, Lane Kiffin's got something to prove now, Pete.
He does.
Because he took his team all the way to, almost to the promised land, and then had to step away because the money was just too big. But between Bama, LSU, who do you think wins that war?
Yeah, that's the tough thing, man, is they're so damn good, right? I mean, you start looking around just in that conference alone, in the Big Ten Conference, and you start saying, well, what about these guys? What about these guys? I do think that
what about Indiana?
Indiana. Indiana reloaded. And we all, I think most people who, if you're not against Indiana, gotta love the coach. I mean, you know what? The guy's just amazing. And he's one of those perfect coaches that would have been great 30 years ago, and he's great right now because he's gruff, he's kind of, sarcastic, he's all that stuff. and he's a hell of a damn good coach too. So I like just about everything about him. Here's a team for you. I put these guys at 4 though. So those 3 that you mentioned though, yeah, it's hard to say, you know, they're not going to be there, but Notre Dame,
Ole Miss, Bama, and LSU.
Right. So
who do you have at 4 then?
Well, at 4, I got Notre Dame. And I have Notre Dame there, John, because last year, you know, all the, you know, crying and everything else and blah, blah, everybody was all up in arms that Notre Dame didn't get there. I think they got something to prove. And quite frankly, I love the coach. I think he's a hell of a coach. I love the way he does it. He seems to have all of his priorities in the right place. So I like him. My last one still doesn't include the 3 that you said, which I know it's like sacrilege, right? Texas. How about Texas with Arch Manning? I think this could be the year for Arch Manning maybe to come out and show everybody who he really is. I'll tell you what, one thing that people don't understand, that kid's a great athlete. That kid can run the football. He's got a lot of speed. So, you know, for a guy who we all know him as a quarterback who throws the ball and everything else, there was a game or 2 last year, John, where I remember he scrambled around. Next thing you know, he takes off with the ball. He's outrunning DBs. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. I never thought he had that kind of athleticism. So, you know, with the amount of players, with the amount of NIL, with the amount of all those things, I know we've got those others. Alabama, how can you leave them? I'm not leaving anybody out. I'm just giving a top 5 like you and I are both doing. But I would say that it's tough to deny Texas. Texas is pretty damn loaded up, I think.
Yeah. And they're also, I think they're about a top 10 payer of cash under the NIL, the legal NIL. So again, they're paying for the best. They better hope they really are the best.
Yeah. And that's true for all of them, right? I mean, you know, whether it's Ole Miss or whether it's LSU or whomever, it will be interesting to see Lane Kiffin at LSU. I think that's going to be great. I think the world of him as a coach. LSU always is loaded with players, so all that's good. Last thing, John, real quick, we'll just hit a little bit of this. The U.S. Open. Now, here's what I'm sitting there watching it yesterday. I'm talking to my son-in-law about it. You know, we're watching it, and people, the day before, I guess it was Saturday, people are sitting there on the 18th hole, John. It's not full. It's almost like people are saying, the hell with this. I mean, it really wasn't. And it was weird. And then I looked up the TV ratings. So it significant drop. NBC, final round, averaged 8% less viewership than they did a year ago, and 50% decline in ratings since 2025 altogether. So there's a little bit of an issue kind of going on out there. A lot of it probably has to do with the play and the lead that the gentleman had and all the rest of it. But, you know, it's funny because I bring that one up, John, and then I'll give you the other side of it. How about this? At the United Bowl for the UFL, United Football League, they actually had the exact opposite. They were up 10%. They're up close to 1 million viewers, John, watching spring football. That's got to be really close to some of their best numbers they've ever had. I know a couple of years ago they were up there. They kind of fell down. But shoot, man, I mean, they're getting very, very close to that million mark. The UFL might be around a little longer than a lot of people maybe was betting on early on.
Well, I think you're right. And that would make The Rock happy, Pete.
Yeah, they need a little something.
And they need a boost. I'll say this about the U.S. Open, Pete. Wyndham Clark, who's the guy, of course, that won it, this was his second. He also won it in 2023. But he ain't a big name.
No.
You'd think he would be. You know, anybody that wins an Open, you'd think, you know, golf fans would really like him. He was being booed, Pete, because people didn't, you know, like that it was him playing so well. They wanted to see Rory and these other guys, you know, win, but he was wire to wire, as they say. In other words, from him teeing off at Shinnecock Hills, the guy was just nailing it. And these were his rounds: 64, unbelievable, 69, 70, and 73. I mean, so, you know, other guys shot very well. I mean, this one guy named Sam Burns
Mhm.
shot a 67, but if you're shooting 64 and 69, unless you completely fall apart, you're winning it going away.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. And, that's why, without any drama, you've got people that are going to turn the channel or go outside and play golf themselves instead of watching
It was a
TV.
beautiful Friday, or excuse me, Father's Day. So, yeah, I think you're exactly right. And he's done some things in the past that I think I've heard people talk about as well, John, that maybe didn't go well with the fans. So, yeah, you combine all that, all of a sudden you start looking at those ratings and you're like, that's not so good.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you joining us, folks. Let me turn off the light here for a sec, Pete, and show them what the view looks like out here.
Wow.
That's the river as we're going down the river here, folks.
Oh, nice.
Out of Lyon, France. So it's not all conferences and speaking here, Pete. There's a little bit of some fun stuff too, like here on the cruise. But we appreciate all of you guys joining us. We hope that you join us again tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, which happens to be basically 7 p.m. my time here, Pete. But because of where we are, I mean, it stays light till 10:15 at night. I know it does up there in Minnesota too, Pete. So
yeah, it's gotten
good for
great,
you.
man. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's up early, it's up late, it's up, it's fantastic actually. And we were just talking about that yesterday. We were out on the boat on a lake out here, and I'll tell you what, we were looking around and it's like it's bright. I mean, no matter what time, until you get about 10:15, then it starts to finally fade a little bit.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us, folks. Have a great day trading them, and we'll be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time.